Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So the market literally just closed, so as usual, let's go over the market, let's go over Tesla, see what happened, what we can expect for next week, and see just essentially what this week can tell us, in terms of pretty much, I guess, what we can expect for the future, right? So all that being said and done, Tesla ending the day in a pretty decent spot actually, 752.31 cents, which is a 2.5% increase, which is actually quite good. So the bull's completely taking control here. So kind of what I said yesterday happened, but not to the extent I thought it would. I thought we'd go to 700. I did say my first target was about this kind of 720 range, but I honestly thought we would probably go to 700. We didn't, and the bulls actually just end up straight up just winning at like this almost a 720 range, push through. And the most important thing is not only did we push through this wedge, which now essentially very highly, I still wouldn't call this fully invalidated, but extremely high chance it is invalidated. And the only reason I say that is because you can have false breakouts. So essentially, as long as Tesla doesn't fall back into it within pretty much by Tuesday, I would say, I would argue that this is a valid breakout, and now this current bear pennant is no longer valid. Pretty much eliminate that, and we are currently most likely playing out the bear flag instead, which is going to bring us somewhere around the high 700s, right? So let's talk about it. So the RSI is still looking beautiful. Like I said yesterday, was pointing straight up, made a higher high. In this case, we're still pointing straight up, still making the higher high. Now, as usual, I do, I guess, warn caution, if you will. Whenever you have too much green like this, green, right? It's a lot of green, right? We essentially have 5 green days in a row. Like the whole week was green. You want to be careful, right? Usually, again, things don't only just go up and things don't only just go down. So when you see this much green, there's a higher chance that, we're going to get some form of pullback, whether it's a small or big pullback sooner than later, right? So that's kind of what I expect here. So pretty much what I would want to see, just strictly through a technical analysis perspective. Again, usually when you have any form of breakout, you want to get a retest of what you broke out of. In this case, since we broke out to the top, to the north, on the bullish side, what I would want to see, maybe like, maybe by Tuesday, and I think we will, and I'll show you guys why. There's a few reasons why I think this will happen, but essentially what I would want to see is by Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, I'd want to see Tesla to come back and retest the breakout that it just, today broke out of, which is going to put us somewhere around 730-ish. Pretty much what you want to not have Tesla go under is, I would say, 720. If Tesla falls under 720, 730, maybe, maybe you can kind of go in the 730 to 720 range for like briefly, and then maybe get bought up, which is fine. But ultimately, you wouldn't want to see Tesla pretty much go under 720. Let's just, to make it easy to understand and to make it easy to follow for yourself if you're doing it, of course, you don't want to see it fall under 720. But pretty much what I expect to happen now is most likely a retest of this breakout, again, somewhere in the 730 to 720 range, most likely get, accepted, confirms the breakout, and then we push back out of it, and then we, from there, most likely rally up to that high 700, maybe even 800-ish price target, which I've had for so long, and then we actually might hit. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in that kind of scenario. I mean, today, fairly nice green day, good volume, some selling pressure did come in, but the good thing that's important is the fact that Tesla was able to close in the 750s. It's had a lot of issues before, right? Over here, it got straight rejected by 750. Over here, we went up pretty much even higher than this, actually. Got rejected and completely sold off. Same thing happened over here. Went up into this general area, also got sold off. Again, here, got to 750, also sold off. Like, there was 4 times where Tesla entered the 750 realm, if you will, and pretty much just got smacked down hard. This time, it did not happen. Not only did we get into the 750, maybe even even briefly 760 realm, but most importantly, we ended up closing a daily candle within that. So the bears and the sellers just simply didn't have control of the area like they did before, which is actually quite bullish. Now, again, that doesn't mean that this is just going to be straight green until $1,000. Obviously, there's going to be red in between, but nonetheless, I do expect a most likely, red early start to the next week, bounce off and then go up. Now, why do I think that? On top of the technical reasons why I just mentioned, very quickly, we'll take a look at the EMA well below where we are at the moment. It's nothing to worry about. We're at the green part of the Bollinger Band, which is another reason why I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a retracement, a little bit of a breather, and then we continue most likely going up to 800. So that's getting a little bit on the overbought side there, just slightly, just through, again, technical analysis, Bollinger Band, all that stuff. 10-day moving average and the 5-day moving average well below that, or rather, it's well below where we are. We are well above that. So it's going to give time for it to kind of catch up and most likely meet us somewhere around this area as we come to retest, maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, something like that is what I currently expect. So why do I think that on top of the reasons I just mentioned? Well, again, you want to compare how Tesla looks like to the indices and also to the VIX. First, I want to start with the VIX. Now, the VIX is looking not too bad. Well, I mean, it's looking bad, but it's looking like it is looking for some kind of relief rally as well, right? This is why I think it would make a lot of sense if the VIX was ready rather to get a little bit of a bounce here, which would line up with what I said with Tesla, and I'll show you soon the indices as well, like SPY and QQQ, to potentially also get a little bit of a drawdown first, because again, don't forget, very important, there is the CPI print on Wednesday. My guess right now, my expectations is the fact that we'll get some fear leading up to it, you know, again, between Monday to pretty much, I guess, Wednesday pre-market, before the CPI print comes out. Usually it's at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Most likely get some fear around that. That's probably the sell-off that I'm talking about. Probably get that bounce, which also gives a little bit of room for the VIX to run over here, get a little bit of green inside, and then most likely the VIX will come back down, retest this blue one once more, because I think after the CPI print we'll actually get that rally like I mentioned. So for instance, the SPY will go to 400, QQQ will easily go to 300, maybe a bit higher than that, maybe like 305, and Tesla can rally up to, like, again, that higher end of the 700 range, and I think that'll line up perfectly. And then I think once the VIX actually comes back and retests again, so essentially I'm expecting something like this for the VIX, just for like simplicity's sake. Kind of go up here, most likely get rejected here. That'll be the relief rally for the VIX, while everything else kind of, you know, has that little bit of breakdown prior to the CPI print. CPI comes out, and then most likely we get a bit of a rally in the market. I personally think, again, it'll be a bull trap, and then the VIX most likely rallies up. That's kind of what I'm expecting at the very moment. That's my like general thought process as to what I think will happen coming up. Again, you know, next week, maybe the week after, or something like that. Also, taking a look at the SPY, you can see we are essentially just forming a bear flag, right? The SPY is similar to what we had over here. Massive drawdown, bear flag, drawdown. Now we're setting up yet another bear flag. So we'll see what happens here. There's a decent chance that we go to 400. This will be the top end of the bear flag roughly, which will also be this gap fill at 401.27 roughly. So that wouldn't be too surprising. It'll be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touch point after this. This will be the fourth once we get the gap fill to 400 roughly. Come down, most likely get the fifth touch point, and then most likely break down. That's what I'm currently expecting. And the QQQ is looking somewhat similar. You can see, right, ready to go up to the fifth or to the fourth touch point, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then obviously the same kind of concept will happen there, which of course also lines up with Tesla, also looking for its fourth touch point being a 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that's kind of what I'm expecting at the very moment, guys. But again, it doesn't mean it's going to go straight up to 800. I do think we'll have a little bit of consolidation, a little bit of a retest and whatnot. And then I think we'll rally after the CPI print, because I actually think the CPI print won't be like that bad. I guess it's still bad, but it's not going to be like as bad as people think, which will be good for the short term. But then people will realize, wait a minute, but that's, even though it's not as bad as expected, it's still ridiculously high. There's still a lot of other issues to worry about. The unemployment numbers came in today, and they were like atrocious. Well, I mean, they were bad for the market, because it pretty much means that it showed that the economy is doing actually not that bad, but that's bad for the market, for like tech stocks, etc., because it gives more room for the Fed to raise interest rates more aggressively, because, you know, the stronger the economy is, the more room the Fed has to raise interest rates without affecting the economy too negatively, right? If the economy was weak and then the Fed raised interest rates, well, that, you know, is essentially what literally forces a recession, stagflations, things like that. So anyways, that's kind of what happened today. But nonetheless, so that's kind of what I'm currently seeing. That's my current thought process, what I expect to happen into next week. But now that we finish off the week, taking a look at the weekly candle, it's just really strange, man. It really is. It's really, really weird, because like we're just having like full red candles and full green candles. Like it's just an absolute war field over here. It's like a straight battlefield between the bears and the bulls. You can see as we're just consolidating in this area, right? Just complete battlefield between the bears and the bulls. So again, we'll see what happens. Ultimately, guys, I'm still pretty confident that we are just setting up a bear flag. This bear pennant that we were in pretty much got invalidated. Very high chance it got invalidated today. Assuming we don't just like collapse on Monday or something like that, which we can, but I don't think we will. But ultimately, I think we're setting up the bear flag. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm currently saying that Tesla will probably get to the high 700s. Honestly, maybe next week, maybe early the week after that. That's kind of what I'm expecting at the very moment. But as we start getting into the later parts of summer, that's when, you know, we have the midterms. September is also just it's quite a bearish month. So I think there's gonna be a lot of, you know, bad stuff happening around there. So that's not something I'm looking forward to. But again, that's later. For now, for the short term, Tesla is still looking bullish. Like I said yesterday, you know, the RSI looked fantastic. It still looks great. All in all, I think Tesla is looking like it's not done yet. And that, you know, the higher high on the MACD over here, you can see as we're kind of moving up on the daily, which is great. yeah, a lot of signs are pointing to Tesla is just not done yet. I mean, again, even though we might get some red at the beginning of next week, maybe get a retest of the breakout, ultimately, I believe as long as we hold 730 to 720, I think Tesla will still rally up, most likely to about 780, maybe 800, something in the range, something around that area. So if that is the case early next week, I will most likely be selling puts on the red, which is a bullish position for the week, and playing that for my upside play and upside potential as we get the expected move up there. So that's kind of what I'm seeing, guys. Hopefully this is useful. Everything just kind of seems in line. A lot of things seem in line. Again, a lot of green, which is great. A lot of green, which is fantastic. But again, you want to be cautious. I personally prefer when it's a lot of red because I like buying on red. When I see too much green, I just kind of sit and wait for some red because I don't want to buy on green, right? You don't want to buy on green. I mean, sometimes if you're doing a short-term move, it's like a short-term play, fine, that's fine, it's all good, But if you're like just buying, and especially if you're swinging sometimes, I would personally wait for red or some confirmation because you don't want to get trapped, right? So you want to see confirmation. Again, in this case, would be a confirmation of the breakout coming down to 720 to 730 in that range, bouncing off, confirming the breakout. And that's where I'm willing to like start, placing some bullish bets. But until then, I'm personally just holding back because I still think the risk versus reward is a little bit minimal at the very moment until some red happens and we get a better idea of the structure that we are currently in, which I think is going to happen early next week. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you on Monday. Peace.